The animation opens up with a young man named Clarence been tied up and interrogated. Iggy, who is a member of the gang to which Clarence also belongs, believe Clarence has been sharing all their secrets with Rupert Thorne, who is their rival gang. Immediately, the head of the gang arrived and eventually eliminated Clarence. The scene then shifted to a factory where we get to see some individuals engaging in some suspicious activities. They are in a rush because Rupert Thorne had already informed them that they are going to get attacked, which can't be the cops because they already bribed half of them, but a man in a bat costume. During their operation, the lights suddenly turned off. So they began shooting randomly in fear, as they couldn't see anymore when Batman throws a tear gas in the place. Batman eliminated them all, but to his surprise, the building of the operation explodes. The next day, Batman investigates about 3 buildings explosions that happened in 2 weeks, as all the 3 buildings could be traced back to shadow companies which are operated by Rupert Thorne. However, Batman decides to find out who's behind the explosions, and he knows where to start looking for them. Alfred is of the opinion that people inside the police department are covering up the explosions, but Batman reminds him that it's Gotham, so the corruption shouldn't be surprising to him. Meanwhile, we see Barbara Gordon defending her client in court. She tells the judge that her client is not a killer nor is he the leader of the smuggling ring, but just a desperate kid who took the wrong job from the wrong people. Harvey Dent then meets her but teases that she is surely going to lose the case because the kid should have reported about his bosses to the police department. To Barbara, everything about Harvey is just politics, as he plans to win the favor of the people in becoming the next mayor. At night, Batman goes to interrogate the fire inspector in the most despicable way in order to get some information about those explosions. In fear, the man informed Batman that it was Penguin doing. Inside a cruise ship, Oswalda Cobblepot hosts a police fundraiser party, as she gives a fine music performance, making her to get applauded by the police. Nearby, Barbara seems to be complaining about being there as she believes she would have used this time to do some other stuff that is more important than just being in an event. Her father, Commissioner Jim Gordon, tells her he isn't having fun here either, but as a commissioner, he can't skip the police fundraiser. Harvey Dent greets him and assures that once he is elected mayor, he and Gordon are going to do many great things for the city. While we also get Ronnie trying to shoot his shot on Barbara, but she turns him down. Just then, Bruce Wayne arrived at the party and everyone is very happy that he made it, but Batman believes the Cobblepots are using parties like this one to cover up their underground operations. Rupert Thorne attends the Cobblepots party and is being greeted by Oswalda. He reveals that he knows she's the one responsible for the explosions on his buildings, and he got the tip from one of her kids. Meanwhile, Bruce sneaks around the ship to investigate the illegal operations of the Cobblepots, but just as he did so, he sees them coming and he dives inside the ocean. Oswalda then went on to interrogate her sons on who sold her out to Rupert Thorne. The both sons claim they weren't the one, but upon noticing how Aaron was shivering, Oswalda believes he is the one who did it. Anyone that betrays her does not go unpunished, even if it's her own son. So she tells one of her men to place him inside box and throw him inside the ocean. Ronnie immediately goes to give Rupert Thorne a call and asks for his help, as he was the one who betrayed his mother and not his younger brother. However, Rupert Thorne denies knowing him, as he doesn't believe Ronnie is trustworthy enough to work for organization, since he was capable of betraying his own mother. Oswalda finds out it was Ronnie who actually did it, and she had killed the wrong son. She tells her men to find Ronnie to finish him off. Ronnie, now having no other choice, immediately went to meet Barbara Gordon at her office and informed her his mom's plan to eliminate him, so he needs her help. He confesses that his mom Oswalda is not what she seems like. She runs a mob and is a very scary person. He chose to come to her because her dad is the only cop in Gotham he knows for sure that isn't corrupt. Just as Barbara drives Ronnie to see her father, Jim Gordon, some men sent to kill Ronnie began to chase after them with their vehicle. They then got trapped, and just as the men were about to finish them, Batman shows up with his Batmobile and hits the men. Jim Gordon tells Ronnie to be calm, that they will protect him, but Ronnie tells him that nowhere is safe from his mom as she got half of the cops on payroll. One of the cops, Flass, eavesdropping on them, informs Oswalda that her son is at the police station as is spilling all the secrets. Oswalda, hearing this, furiously decided to blow up the whole station. While Ronnie kept on informing Gordon that his mom bought a customized military long-range cannon, and with that weapon, she can hit any place in Gotham she wants. After hearing this, Jim Gordon and Barbara begins to evacuate everyone out of the police building. Batman uses a submarine to sneak into Oswalda's ship, and just as she's about to launch the weapon, Batman stops her. As he easily defeated all her men, but unfortunately for Batman, he couldn't stop her from launching the cannon. The bomb goes directly to the police station and explodes it, but no one got hurt as the Gordons already got everyone out of the building safely. Barbara tells Jim that Batman is actually real, as he saved her from Oswalda men. The next episode of Batman Cape Crusader begins with a famous movie actor called Yvonne Francis stepping out of a car. Just as she heads towards her mansion, someone kidnaps her. The next Bruce Wayne is being interrogated by Detective Montoya as he was the last person to see Yvonne Francis. Just as she questions him, Lucius Fox, Bruce's lawyer, walked in and then informed Bruce not to say anything else. He tells Detective Montoya that any further questions she wants to ask should go through him. Meanwhile, on their way home, Bruce is of the opinion that Detective Montoya is a very honest detective and believes she could be an asset, as when he tried to bribe her, she got angry. Detective Montoya tells Gordon that she honestly doesn't see Bruce Wayne as a suspect, so she decided to go to the movies where Yvonne Francis normally perform and meets with Basil Carlo, an actor who performs together with Yvonne Francis. He said yesterday was the first time he saw her in months. He didn't say much and leaves, saying he has an important meeting with a director. As she continued her investigation, she realizes that everything that Basil Carlo told her was just lies, as he saw Yvonne Francis last week. Detective Montoya quickly gets Carlo Holmes' address and hurries to his house, only to find him killed with a dagger on his back. Nearby, as the killer tried to escape, he is confronted by Batman and immediately began running, and Batman began chasing him, but he then escaped. The kidnapped Yvonne Francis wakes up only to find herself in chains on the bed. She then began to shout for help, but no one hears her. Detective Montoya is feeling sad. She believes she had let her boss down. A few days later, the masked man from earlier continued with his plans as he shows up to kill the movie director, but fortunately, Batman shows up and stops him. The masked person escapes, but Batman realizes that the masked man has been killing people one by one in that movie theater. But why? Batman begins his investigations to find out. Batman goes to see Carlo's dead body and realizes he's not actually the one. On the other hand, Detective Montoya goes to see another crew member in the theater, Jack Ellman, to ask him some questions. He immediately attacked and captures her. The mysterious killer shows up in front of her, and Detective Montoya finds out that Carlo isn't dead, but he had faked his death. He narrates what had happened to him to Detective Montoya on how he was a very talented movie actor, but Yvonne Francis, an actress he has a crush on, but she refuses to date him because he had an ugly face. That was when he came across a con man and lunatic, Jack Hillman, who worked as a makeup artist for the studios. Jack had developed a miracle serum through which he could become anyone he wanted. He could change his face and body like a shapeshifter. He then met Yvonne Francis and also introduced his new face, but she still rejected him, making him to kidnap her. He killed Jack, who now looked like Carlo, so that the world would think that Carlo was dead while the real Carlo, the claimant, could start a new life with a new face and new identity. He also believes that he was born a true villain. Meanwhile, just as he proceeded to eliminate Francis, Batman shows while also releasing Detective Montoya. A fight then breaks out while we also see the detective trying to free up Francis. Batman and Carlo continue their fight, to which Batman easily defeated, but just as he planned leaving, Detective Montoya then held him at gunpoint. Just then the police burst in, giving the Batman an opportunity to escape. Detective Montoya then saw the bug which Batman had planted on her coat earlier and used it to deliver her message to Batman, saying, "They are not done yet."
Episode 3 of Batman Cape Crusader begins in Gotham Museum, where we get Bruce Wayne admiring his own jewelry collection. Just as he did so, Miss Kyle then walked up to him, while also admiring his collections, but Wayne is more concerned as they all know that things of beauty seems to always disappear around Miss Kyle. Miss Kyle is of the opinion that good things do accidentally comes along with her. Nearby, some guy seems to speak bad about Wayne collections, which really made him mad. The next day, news about Bruce Wayne hitting a man's speed. But now it seems Wayne lawyer had worked out the whole situation, which eventually made Bruce Wayne land in Dr. Quinzel, who is a therapist. During the therapy section, Bruce Wayne had a flashback of what had happened to his both parents the night they both died. The scene shifted to Selina Kyle, who is being woken up by her maid called Greta. Kyle reads newspapers concerning Batman and is fascinated about the idea of wearing a mask. She decided to sew a cat costume bearing the name Catwoman. Every night, she goes to different stores to steal treasures, but tonight isn't her lucky night as she is being chased by the police. Batman catches her and leaves her tied for the cops to capture her. Harvey Dent suggests to the judge to give Kyle a second chance due to they lack evidence. After Kyle is released just that same night, she steals some jewelries from a rich couple's house, but Batman shows up the second time to catch her. During the chase, she slips off a building, but Batman saves her, leading to her to give him a kiss. Kyle electrifies him with a gadget she made and escapes with a car similar to the Batmobile. At her new apartment, she now has a lot of cats at her own care, but Greta complains on how she keeps bringing in abandoned cats from the street and feeding them when they have a lot of bills to pay. Alfred tells Batman to leave Kyle for the cops to handle since she's only a jewelry thief and not a villain, but he couldn't for some reasons. Meanwhile, to make sure Kyle doesn't escape punishment from the court again, he meets a photographer called O'Brien and hires him. He takes evidence of Catwoman during her next heist according to Batman instructions. Batman then approached her, but now she had her own wild animal, which she left to handle Batman. Corrupt cops Flass and Bullock arrived at the scene and tried to shoot Kyle, but Batman intervened and stopped them from murdering her. And dealt with them. As soon as he's done with them, he chained Kyle up for the legal authorities. At the station, Kyle decided to call her house help to bail her out since now the police has full proof of her committing those crimes, but Greta informed her that they all have nothing as now Greta, has sold all her expensive paintings and kept all the money for herself since Kyle has been owing her for 3 years now. Meanwhile, those photos of Batman beating the corrupt cops is everywhere. The mayor then announces to organize a special task force to take down Batman, seeing him as a criminal for attacking the police. Gordon handed the responsibility to Detective Montoya, who reveals to have a plan on how to catch Batman. She fakes numerous robberies so Batman can show up and help, but he didn't really fall for that. However, Harvey Dent took this as an opportunity to push his political agenda. At the station, Gordon found Batman inside their investigation room, but Batman escaped. This was when Flass and Bullock decided to go a bit overboard and released a psycho prisoner named Firebug from prison so as to set a trap for Batman. Unfortunately, their plan backfired, and Firebug ended up burning a building in the East neighborhood. Batman shows up at the building to rescue the resident, and Gordon with Montoya also came there. Just then, Flass and Bullock are cornered. Firebug is in the building and might expose them, so they decided to shot him dead so that the prisoner wouldn't reveal their connections in his testimony. Gordon catches Batman in the building, but he couldn't shoot at him after seeing him rescuing 2 kids. He tells Gordon there is 1 more kid to save, which Gordon does, and Batman goes away after taking him out of the building. Even though Gordon knows it was Flass and Bullock responsible for all these, he couldn't take action against them as Mayor Jessup, the mayor, orders him to put them in charge of the task force as a reward for taking out Firebug.
Episode 5 of Batman, Caped Crusader, begins with Batman saving a man trying to kill himself in the middle of the road. This is Fletcher Deming, a man who's gone completely off the rails. Several weeks back, he donated his entire fortune to charity, so the only thing he can afford right now is a one-way ticket to Arkham Asylum. Batman realizes that there's something more going on here, so goes to investigate, but as he did so, the cops surrounded him, but the Batman eventually escaped. Meanwhile, a man named Emerson goes for a therapy, but the therapist which Batman had met earlier isn't having it, as she believed Emerson is a real menace to the society and walked toward him in a terrifying way. Alfred does some digging alongside Batman, who realizes there's a link with all of these men getting psychiatrist visits and giving away all their fortune afterwards before eventually going insane. Batman does some digging and finds Fletcher's hidden office with a whole bunch of checks made out to none other than Harleen Quinzel. Yep, it turns out Quinzel is actually Harley Quinn. Alongside Mr. Hastings, who works with her, Harley has a whole bunch of men locked up whom she's torturing and belittling. She breaks out all the men, but despite getting the upper hand, Batman finds himself captured in one of the pots. Sleeping gas is deployed, while the house is rigged to blow in 5 minutes. However, on her way out, Barbara breaks into the basement and finds Batman. With time running out, Harley realizes Barbara is in the house and turns the car around. She grabs Barbara and tells him to leave. She refuses to without Batman, but they're not able to break him out save for lifting the pod glass slightly. The house blows up and Harley falls to her doom, while the Batman saved Barbara. Immediately, Barbara races to the side to try and see her, but she ends up crying, upset over Harley Quinn presumably being dead. While Batman leaves, we find out that Quinzel is still alive naturally, and she rings Montoya on a payphone and tells her she's had to leave town for a while. The episode 5 of Batman, Caped Crusader, then came to an end. The remaining episode would be uploaded so. Kindly subscribe if you enjoy a recap like this. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.